I'm Barry Gershenson from the Southwest region, and the mission of MDI is to cause greatness by mentoring men to live with excellence, and as mature masculine leaders, create successful families, careers, and communities.
Hi, I'm Warren Zenna. I'm in the humongous men's division in New York City, and my team is Massive Dump. I am also a proud member of the board of directors, and I represent my region, which is the Mid-Atlantic region. And I joined the board about a year ago. I've been in the organization for about 25 years, and I've had the incredible privilege of having roughly every leadership role and other role that could be had in this organization on a local level. And it was presented to me the opportunity to be on the board, where I realized I could probably make a bigger difference and bigger impact on fulfilling the mission of MDI if I were part of the central organization that supports it. You probably know that we've created MDI's Big Picture series, which is this video is a part of, as a way to let men know that there's a bigger, more amazing MDI than just their team or their division or their region. There's actually over 1,000 men in the organization who stand shoulder to shoulder with you, doing this amazing work. And there's a board of directors, which is this guiding force of men just like you, who are creating a vision of how we thrive and grow. And we're looking at 5, 10, 20-year vision for doing this. So this video is part of that series. So today, we'll be getting to know 3 other men who are on the board of MDI, and they'll talk about what they got and what they gave and what's exciting and terrifying, fulfilling about them for being part of the MDI board of directors. And then we'll finish up with your RCs, your regional coordinators, talking about some upcoming board elections in some regions and other information. Okay, ready? Let's go. Okay, first we're going to meet one of the board of director members, Greg Aldrich.
There are many important things the board does, but probably the most important of all of them is selecting the president. Every 2 or 3 years, we have a new president, and that president directs the operations, and most of what affects the average man on a team, whether you're in New England or California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Toronto, what affects you most directly is the operations, and the president is the man who makes that happen. And so selecting that man is very important. And I've had an opportunity to be part of selecting 2 presidents now, and that's felt real good with the work we've done there.
Now we're going to hear from Mr. Guichard, who's been on the board for a long time, and he reflects on what's exciting about the board and why he's passionate about it.
Bonjour, my name is Guichard Alain. I have a great time being in MDI. However, for me, simply being in a men's team was not enough to fulfill my need to help others, until I had the opportunity to be elected to the board of directors as a representative for the Western region. I now have the chance to see what is behind the curtains and finally work with the leaders of this organization. I am on a communication committee, and let me tell you, improved communication is really a need for us. One of the rewards I hope to get from my work on the board will be when I see the men get engaged and see that they understand why they are members of MDI, beyond just attending team meetings. It's not about what MDI can do for you or me, but what I can do for MDI. That is what is driving me to be the best in the board of directors.
And finally, we'll hear from Mr. Powell. Mr. Powell is a relatively new man on the board, and he will reflect on his hopes for what his participation on the board can do and why it's important to him. Go ahead, Mr. Powell.
Working on the board gives me a larger context for my MDI work. I see how we are building networks of men changing lives for the better everywhere, not just on my team or my community, but everywhere. My most rewarding board work is I get to hold MDI's mission, vision, values, and code to hold it dearly and to ensure they are alive and well throughout the organization. I believe MDI can find and release the goodness and love in men. That's our gift to the world and what makes our circles matter. Serving on the board gives me a higher meaning and lets me live my purpose. So, thank you.
And now we'll hear a little bit from our regional coordinators.
Hey man, Crossley here. I'm the regional coordinator for the Southeast region, and I've been asked to give you a reason why I think it's important to have a board representative from the Southeast region. So a little about me is I've been a member for 21 years. One thing I really appreciate that kind of made a big impact for me was the concept of we are all one MDI. I am MDI. And if you remember, you are also a part of MDI. So MDI to me is basically the result of the vision and the decisions that have been made by the board. They are setting a path for the next 5 to 10 to 20 years for you and I. And the MDI you know now is the result of those decisions made by previous board members from 5, 10, 20 years ago. Currently what I see us doing and what I'm supporting is we're trying to expand our influence. Other cities, the man down the street, the man in the convenience store. On top of that, we want to create an army of dynamic leaders to help us sustain all this influence, this growth that we want to have. And that comes from men like you. And then at the end of the day, probably the most important thing is we want to be men that our communities can be proud of. So having a member on the board that represents the Southeast region to fulfill that path, those visions, our purpose, is why it's important to me.
Okay, that's it. Once again, I'm Zenna from New York City, signing off. We'll see you in 60 days.